Welcome back to the show. You watch UAP Truth 33. I'm John, I'm your host. And today I'm going to play a video for you. Representative Paulina was on Newsmax saying some wild stuff. Talking about interdimensional beings. And that she's seen evidence that these craft aren't from this planet. And I think you're really going to be interested in what she has to say. So let's check it out.
Joining us now for more Florida Congresswoman Paulina. It's been a busy day, Congresswoman. Good to see you. At this point,
nice to see you too.
Who are these people who are still blocking the truth from the public?
Well, to our knowledge, it is definitely members of the intelligence community, and then also, too, we were recently denied access out of the Department of War, stating that we didn't have access and the proper, I guess, need-to-know authorities to look at some of the classified footage that is out there. As you saw in that clip that you just showed, there's actually some footage that was dead dropped to Eric Burleson, of which he then provided it to the task force. And so all I have to say is, look, in the interest of national security and national defense, obviously this is something that we should question and look to find answers for, but also it also signifies a massive problem when you have elements within our own government that are denying access to Congress. And this is not just a bipartisan effort, this is bicameral, meaning the House and the Senate are both supporting this, both Democrats and Republicans. It's probably one of the few things that is bipartisan. And actually this week, I think it's going to be at this upcoming week on the 17th, there's going to be a movie coming out called The Age of Disclosure, of which Secretary of State Marco Rubio is in there talking about this exact topic, and I think everyone should watch it.
Let me ask you about that, and I will. You're on the record talking about, quote, non-human life forms that could be interdimensional beings who are visiting us. Can you just explain more to people at home what that might mean?
Yeah, so that's definitely a mouthful, but that is directly based on information that we've received from witnesses, also information that we have obtained and witnessed via our investigations. There's some stuff that I can't disclose of what I have immediately seen in some of these SCIFs, but what I will tell you is this is not just some crazy conspiracy theory. Obviously, there's been massive reporting, not just in the United States, but around the world. And this is something that I think everyone kind of, has always had some curiosity about. We're just simply asking the questions.
Yeah, and it feels like we're building towards some sort of disclosure. I know many people are hoping that Donald Trump is president and that he's ultimately the person that allows that to happen. We just had the acting NASA administrator and transportation secretary, Sean Duffy, on this show moments ago. And I asked him about this, what they're calling a comet, 3I Atlas. Take a listen to his response.
The experts at NASA have said, this is a comet. It walks like a comet, talks like a comet, struts like a comet. It's a comet. I know some people have said, listen, there's alien life on here, or that at one point they said it was going to hit the Earth. Not true. But it is a fascinating comet.
There's no conspiracy.
You mentioned Kim Kardashian, so I wanted to clarify that. No, there's no conspiracy theory.
You did. All right. So, Congresswoman, NASA has yet to release the photos. They're releasing other photos every day. They blame the shutdown. They've yet to release the photos. Do you buy that from Sean Duffy?
Yeah, I actually had a conversation with NASA because I was helping Avi Loeb, who's actually a Harvard astrophysicist who's been looking into this for some time.
Right.
And remember, this is going to be one of many objects that we're going to be getting through that are interstellar because of the technology that we have now. So there is some anomalies about the comet, like, for example, it lost its tail, which is pretty much one of the first that we've ever seen. But I do believe that it's a passing through comet. And so I don't think that we are going to have any contact with any non-human intelligence yet.
All right.
But the ruling's still out there on what this is. Yeah.
Okay. I just want to. Perhaps deep water alien bases right now sitting on the ocean floor on this planet. Is that accurate?
I would say that's pretty accurate.
Can you go into more detail? How long have they been here? Where are they?
Well, I'm extrapolating all this with my East Tennessee vernacular. So we've got five or six deep water areas of our oceans. We actually know more about the surface of the moon than we do about these areas. And these are areas where we have a high frequency of UFO or UAP sightings. We've had naval folks have told me pretty high up that they've actually tracked these things. Now, we have stuff that can go underwater probably 30 to 40 miles an hour, maybe something a little faster that the Chinese haven't stole from us yet. And we've tracked things big as a football field going 200 miles an hour.
Perhaps deep water alien bases right now sitting on the ocean floor on this.
Imagine trying to explain white to someone who has never.
It was Joseph of Arimathea that went to Pontius Pilate after the crucifixion, asked Pilate to release the body of Christ to him. Pilate didn't believe that Jesus was already dead because he'd only been on the cross 6 hours. The crucifixion was designed to be a long, slow, agonizing death. Pilate sends the centurion out. He says, go see if he's actually dead. Centurion goes out, pierces the side of Christ, describes blood and water issuing forth, but there was no response from the body hanging on the cross. He goes back and he says, yeah, he's dead. I stuck him with the lance and he didn't respond. He's dead. So Pilate says to Joseph of Arimathea, yeah, go ahead, take the body. According to the legend and the stories, he had this cup that was used at the Last Supper, and he caught the blood and the water coming out of the side of Christ. He sealed it up, and after a whole series of adventures post-crucifixion, he eventually makes his way to England, and he presents himself to a tribal chieftain there named Arviragus. And he comes there with 12 disciples, and he tells Arviragus he's there to establish a new church.
Interesting.
Now, Joseph of Arimathea gets this sacred precinct. At the center of the sacred precinct, he builds a little circular church. You know, the way it's been described is the ancient master builders were attempting to replicate the processes by which God built the universe. This is why Freemasons refer to God as the great architect. But it happens over and over and over again. It was Joseph of Arimathea that...
What if I told you there's an ancient ruin with stone cuts so perfect, even modern machines struggle to replicate them? Imagine discovering a place where every block is carved with laser-like precision, but built thousands of years before lasers even existed. Welcome to Puma Punku, a mysterious site in Bolivia that still puzzles experts today. The stones here aren't just big, some weigh over 100 tons, yet they're shaped with perfect right angles, smooth edges, and interlocking designs. The cuts are so clean, it looks like the builders used advanced tools. But archaeology says they only had simple stone tools. Some theories say they used lost techniques. Others believe it was an engineering breakthrough far ahead of its time. But until now, no one can fully explain how these massive blocks were carved with such accuracy. So what do you think? Did ancient builders know a secret technology we've completely lost? Let me know your thoughts.
FBI whistleblower has this to say to America.
About a minute and a half, and then I want to turn the rest of my time to Mr. Jordan.
Yes, sir. I would just say that I consider the hearing today my last act of service as a public servant for the United States of America, and I'll give you my professional opinion. I personally have no confidence that the FBI will rein in its own conduct. There are no current effective checks and balances against them conducting lawless action with any type of correction in a legitimate time frame. Their ability to overclassify information can allow them to stonewall forever. My other recommendations are in the natural order. First, vote. The second is the Second Amendment. Arm yourself and know how to defend yourself. Make 3 to 4 friends in your neighborhood and promise to come to each other's mutual aid in times of hardship. And during the Great Depression, people stocked up a pantry. So I think that's a good practice, especially in our economic times, and make sure you have 3 to 4 months of food. As a person of faith, I'd say pray the rosary and read the gospel of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, and live it every day. And that's all I have to say. Thank you for the
Habit 1. The power of morning reflection. Win the day before it begins. The world doesn't wait for you to be ready. It crashes into your life the moment you open your eyes. Notifications, noise, demands, distractions. Before you've even taken a breath, your attention is under siege, and most people surrender. They wake up and fall straight into the current, reacting, scrolling, rushing, surviving. But not you, not anymore. Because the first Stoic habit of self-care is this: morning reflection. Before the world speaks, you speak to yourself. Before noise, there is clarity. Before reaction, intention. Before obligation, sovereignty. The Stoics believed your day doesn't begin when you open your eyes. It begins when you choose your mindset. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to think, to enjoy, to love." And he didn't just mean gratitude.
The Pope is opening 5 portals. These are the locations of them. Connecting the dots of these locations creates the sigil of Lucifer. This is going to blow your mind. The sigil of Lucifer is your brain's visual field with the eyes. You don't see into reality. Light enters the eyes and an image is produced in your brain. Everything outside of you is just energy. Your brain turns it into a reality you can interact with. These rituals are all to do with perception. That's why he's opening 5 doors for your 5 senses. 5 points on the body, 5 toes, 5 fingers. 5 is the portal that connects spirit with matter, consciousness interacting with the material world. The Pope is not opening spiritual portals for demons. This was all a psyop. The portal they're opening is a negative portal in your own mind. This ritual was to create fear in our minds to make us project it into the reality. Because the physical world is just an externalization of our inner consciousness. By planting fear in the collective minds and projecting this reality to keep us distracted. This is what Lucifer is. Lucifer is you, your consciousness, your divine self, falling for the material tricks. Matrix. This is just another distraction to install fear into your mind. The Pope is
Yeah, so this iconic look, this is made of diorite, by the way. This is called Khafre Enthroned, one of my favourite statues.
This is made out of that same impossibly hard stone.
Yes, it's like a 6.5 to a 7 on the Mohs scale.
And this has exhibits that facial symmetry as well.
It looks like it. I've not seen the actual scans from this, but this thing actually has tubular drill marks and saw cuts in it too. It's got between his heels, you see the remnants of a tube drill. In the legs, on the inside, you can actually see overcuts, saw cuts. They cut too deeply into this insanely hard stone. If you were doing this by hand, that's a mistake you'd have to be making for about 4 hours. But if you had some sort of power tool that was removing material quickly, you can overcut in there. And there's like little mistakes.
So your thoughts are that the Egyptians were imitating these ancient looks.
Yes. Imagine that you are a tribal culture that's emerging from this Stone Age, but you have this history and these legends of these stories, and you come across.
If a person would sit down and let their body relax, totally relax, and then start to visualize in their mind, see themselves the way they want to see themselves, see how you'd like to live your life, see yourself living it that way. Now understand that that's a picture in your mind. Take that picture and describe it, write it out in the present tense. I am so happy now that I see myself, and write it out. Start to read it and read it and read it and read it every day. Carry it around and keep reading it. The one point that all the great teachers all down through history have all agreed on, they've been in complete unanimous agreement on it, we become what we think about. Now it may be fantasy at first, it might even appear to us as being a lie, but if you read it often enough, you'll start to believe it. If a person would...
You see, the people who truly shine are not the ones trying to impress you or to win some secret advantage. They are simply kind, not as a tactic, not as a strategy, but because it is their nature. When someone is genuinely kind, without any thought of what they'll get in return, their presence feels light, effortless, like a cool breeze on a hot day. It refreshes you, it brightens the moment, and you don't quite know why, but you feel it. Now, this is not because they have discovered some grand philosophy, or because they are working very hard to be virtuous. It is because they have seen how difficult life can be. They know suffering. They know loneliness. And from that understanding grows a very simple wisdom, that to be kind, even in small ways, is to relieve the burden we all carry. So the finest presence, if we may put it that way, comes from those who are not performing, not scheming, but simply living in harmony with this truth, that we are all, in the end, companions on the same road. And when you see that clearly, kindness is not something you do, it is simply what you are.
And that the United States has been caught asleep at the wheel. It was complacently, hubristically thinking that it was way ahead of its foreign adversaries. And in fact, the big show that took place, notably, I know it was reported mainly over New Jersey, I'm increasingly persuaded that the initial show, at least, was, in part, Chinese. And that what happened was the United States responded with technology of its own to muddy the waters. And so you had this ridiculous situation where, if you believe it, and this is the implication not only from my Senator Mike Round's interview, but also from the interview that General Glenn Van Herk, the former head of Northcom and NORAD, did to 60 Minutes' Bill Whitaker a few months ago. They basically admitted that there's someone operating with impunity over the continental United States, flying so-called drone technology. These drones are not using known propulsion systems. They're not using jets, they're not using propellers, they're not using any kind of known turbine propulsion system that emits the kind of heat that we're used to from that kind of technology. The suggestion is they're using some type of electrogravitics. And my sources are telling me that the big story that, frankly, the US doesn't want you to know about right now, the story that's not being discussed in the media, is the implications of the admissions made by General Glenn Van Herk, in particular, to 60 Minutes, which kind of went through the gate and were largely ignored by most other media, but which I think are incredibly significant.
Wow. What do you guys think of that? I don't know. I'm kind of torn. I think some of that was, I think there was a little bit of everything going on with that. I don't know if it was China. Maybe. Well, that's all the footage and the new stories that are out that people are talking about right now. I figured I would get you guys up to date, share this with you. What do you guys think, man? Was the New Jersey drone incursion, was that Chinese tech? I'm starting to wonder about Ross, you know. But here's the thing, man. Just take the data in, right? Don't commit to anything. Don't believe anything with too much conviction, because that's when you're going to be disillusioned. You're going to be disappointed. It's all data. It's all good information, even the information that's false, right? Because I believe that we're smart enough that we can put this picture together on our own. We don't need the government to tell us what's true. We don't need Ross Coulthart to tell us what's true, right? Just take it in, you know, continue to watch my channel. We'll break this down as much as we can, and I'm not going to push anything on you. I'm not going to tell you what to believe, but I will tell you what I believe, what I think's going on. But it's all very interesting, right? So thank you for watching. Please hit the like and subscribe, share it to a friend, share it to 2 friends, share it with everybody you know. I'll be back tomorrow. Peace.